You should not be here. The wolf's golden eyes locked onto hers, unblinking, as Nora set the wooden bowl on the porch steps. Steam rose from the venison stew she had prepared, curling into the cold night air. 6 months. For 6 months, this enormous black wolf had appeared at her doorstep like clockwork, and for 6 months, she had fed him. "I know what they say about you," she whispered, kneeling slowly so her eyes were level with the beast. "They say you are cursed. They say you are dangerous. They say I am a fool for not driving you away with iron and wolfsbane." The wolf tilted his massive head, and something in those ancient golden eyes made her breath catch. Intelligence, recognition, understanding. "But I do not care what they say. I have never cared what they say about me either." She reached out, her fingers trembling slightly, and for the first time in half a year, she touched him. Her hand sank into the thick black fur at his neck, and the wolf went utterly still. "We are the same, you and I. Unwanted, alone, too different to belong anywhere." A low rumble vibrated through the creature's chest, not a growl, but something else entirely. Something that sounded almost like grief. Nora pulled her hand back and stood, wrapping her shawl tighter around her shoulders against the autumn chill. "Eat. You always look so hungry, and not just for food." She turned toward her cabin door, then paused. "Tomorrow is the Harvest Moon Festival. I will not be here. They require even outcasts to attend and show respect to the visiting dignitaries." The wolf's ears flattened against his skull. "I know. I do not want to go either. But my grandmother's cabin sits on pack land, and I must follow pack law, even if the pack wishes I did not exist." She disappeared inside, missing the way the wolf's form began to shimmer and shift as the first rays of dawn touched the horizon. Damon Blackthorne stood naked in the forest, his breathing ragged, his body aching from the transformation. He looked down at his hands, human hands, and flexed his fingers slowly. The curse. Always the curse. For 5 years, he had lived with this affliction, this loss of control that turned him into a mindless beast whenever strong emotion overwhelmed him or when the full moon rose. The elders said it was punishment. The witch who cursed him said it was justice. Damon called it a living hell. But these past 6 months, visiting the little cabin on the border of his territory, being near her, had become the only peace he knew. Nora. The name tasted like honey on his tongue. She had no wolf, no pack status, no family to protect her. She should have been beneath his notice entirely. But from the moment he had stumbled upon her cottage in his beast form, bleeding from a trap some rogue hunters had set, she had tended his wounds without fear. She had looked into the eyes of a monster and seen something worth saving, and Damon had recognized the scent, the pull, the undeniable. Truth that had made his situation infinitely more complicated. She was his mate. His fated mate. The one person in all the realm created specifically for him, and he could not claim her. How could he, when he could not even control his own body? When he might transform and hurt her in a moment of passion or anger? When the council demanded he marry a high-born she-wolf to strengthen political alliances? The sun climbed higher, and Damon forced himself to shift back into his wolf form, this time controlled and deliberate. He ran through the forest toward his palace, his mind churning with impossible problems and the memory of her fingers in his fur. The great hall of the Blackthorne Palace blazed with torchlight and reeked of expensive wine and political ambition. Damon sat on his throne, every muscle in his body tense, as the Harvest Moon Festival celebrations continued around him. Lords and ladies from every major pack in the kingdom had gathered, ostensibly to celebrate the season, but in reality, to parade their eligible daughters before him like prize livestock. "Your Majesty appears displeased." Lady Seraphina appeared at his elbow, her smile sharp and calculating beneath her veneer of beauty. She wore a gown of deep crimson that clung to her curves, and her auburn hair cascaded over one shoulder in an elaborate braid. Everything about her was designed to attract, to seduce, to ensnare. "I am tired, Lady Seraphina," Damon replied, his voice flat. These festivities bore me. Perhaps you require entertainment of a different sort. Her hand landed on his forearm, her touch light but possessive. I have heard whispers, Your Majesty. The council grows impatient. They say you must choose a queen before the blood moon ceremony, or they will invoke the ancient laws and force your abdication. Daemon's jaw clenched. He knew this. He had known this for months. The Council of Alphas had given him an ultimatum: marry and produce an heir, or step down and let someone more suitable take the throne. The council can say what they wish. I am still king. For now. Seraphina's voice dropped to a purr. But kings without queens appear weak, Daemon. And weak kings do not keep their crowns for long. She leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. Choose me. My bloodline is impeccable. My father controls the Eastern Territories. Together, we would be unstoppable. Before Daemon could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew his attention. Guards were arguing with someone, their voices rising above the music and laughter. I have an invitation. You cannot bar me from entering. That voice, soft but stubborn, familiar in a way that made his wolf surge to attention inside him. Daemon was on his feet before he realized he had moved. He pushed through the crowd, ignoring Seraphina's protest, and stopped dead when he saw her. Nora stood in the entranceway, her simple homespun dress a stark contrast to the silk and jewels surrounding her. Her dark hair fell, loose around her shoulders, and her cheeks flushed with embarrassment and defiance as two guards blocked her path. She claims to have an invitation, Your Majesty, one guard said, barely concealing his sneer. But clearly there has been some mistake. There is no mistake. Daemon's voice cut through the hall like a blade, and silence fell. Every eye turned to watch. She is here at my personal invitation. The lie came easily, smoothly, because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative was watching her be humiliated and thrown out like refuse. Nora's eyes widened, her lips parting in shock. Your Majesty, Come. Daemon extended his hand, very aware of the hundreds of witnesses, very aware of the political suicide he was committing. You are late. I have been waiting. Her hand trembled as she placed it in his, and the moment their skin touched, electricity shot up his arm. The mate bond, recognizing, demanding, pulling. He saw her eyes widen further, saw the confusion and something else, something that looked almost like recognition, flash across her face. Then he was leading her into the hall, into the lion's den, and he had absolutely no plan for what came next. The whispers started immediately. Daemon could hear every word, every speculation, every cruel assumption about who Nora was and why their king would acknowledge her. He felt her fingers tighten on his arm, felt her trying to pull away, to flee. Do not run, he murmured, low enough that only she could hear. If you run, they will tear you apart like wolves on a wounded deer. Why did you lie? Her voice shook. Why did you say you invited me? Because I should have. He guided her toward the refreshment tables, away from the densest crowd. Because you deserve to be here as much as any of these preening peacocks. I am nobody. I have no wolf. No family. No. You are here now. That is all that matters. He released her hand reluctantly, very aware of the burning stare Seraphina was directing at them from across the room. There is wine, food. Try to enjoy yourself. Enjoy myself? Nora laughed, a brittle sound. Your Majesty, I do not belong here. Everyone is staring. Let them stare. Daemon forced himself to step back, to create proper distance, even though every instinct screamed at him to pull her close and snarl at anyone who looked at her wrong. I must attend to my other guests. But you will stay. Consider it a royal command if you must. He walked away before she could protest, before he could do something monumentally stupid like claim her in front of the entire assembly. But he watched her from across the room, tracked her every movement, and when he saw Lady Seraphina approaching Nora with predatory intent, his blood ran cold. So you are the little nobody who has caught our king's attention. Seraphina's smile could have cut glass. She circled Nora slowly, taking in every detail of her plain dress and unadorned hair. Tell me, what exactly do you do? That warranted a personal invitation from His Majesty? Nora lifted her chin, refusing to be cowed despite her racing heart. I am a healer. I tend to the sick and injured on the border territories. A healer. Seraphina's laugh was musical and cruel. How quaint. And do you heal our king as well? Is that the service you provide him? The implication was clear, and Nora felt heat flood her cheeks. I have never even spoken to the king before tonight. Really? Seraphina leaned in close. Then why would he risk his reputation to defend someone so far beneath his station? Unless perhaps you have been servicing him in other ways, in the dark, where no one can see. That is enough, Lady Seraphina. A new voice interrupted, crisp and authoritative. An older woman with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes appeared at Nora's side. Leave the girl alone. Your jealousy is showing, and it is most unbecoming. Seraphina's expression hardened. Lady Margaret, I was merely introducing myself to our king's mysterious guest. You were bullying her, as you bully everyone you perceive as competition. Lady Margaret took Nora's arm gently. Come, child. Let me show you the gardens. They are much more pleasant than the company in here. As they walked away, Nora glanced back to see Seraphina watching them with undisguised hatred, and a chill ran down her spine. She had made an enemy tonight, whether she wanted one or not. The gardens were indeed beautiful, lit by hundreds of floating lanterns that bobbed gently in the night breeze. Lady Margaret led Nora to a stone bench near a fountain and sat down with a sigh. Forgive the intrusion, my dear, but you looked as though you needed rescuing. Thank you. Nora sat beside her, grateful for the respite. I should not have come. I do not understand why the king said what he said. Do you not? Lady Margaret studied her with sharp, intelligent eyes. I am the king's former governess, and one of the few people in this palace who speaks truth to him. I have known Damon since he was a boy, and I have never seen him look at anyone the way he looked at you tonight. That is impossible. He does not even know me. Does he not? The older woman's smile was enigmatic. Our king has been different these past months. Calmer. Less volatile. The curse that plagues him has been less severe. I have wondered what caused the change. Nora's breath caught. Curse? Oh, my dear girl. You truly do not know, do you? Lady Margaret sighed. 5 years ago, Damon was cursed by a witch whose daughter he rejected. The curse forces him to transform into his most primitive beast form during times of emotional distress or during the full moon. In that state, he loses all humanity, all control. He becomes nothing but instinct and rage. The black wolf, the golden eyes, the intelligence that should not have been there. Nora's mind raced, pieces clicking into place with terrible clarity. But if you have been feeding him, Lady Margaret continued softly, if you have been showing him kindness when he is at his most monstrous, then perhaps you are the reason he has been able to maintain better control. Perhaps you are the reason he has hope again. I feed a wolf, Nora whispered. A black wolf with gold eyes who comes to my cabin every night. Lady Margaret's expression shifted to wonder. Then you have already met our king, child. You just did not know it was him. Before Nora could respond, before she could process, this revelation, a howl split the night. Not a wolf's howl, but something more primal, more anguished. The sound of a creature in pain. Damon. Lady Margaret stood quickly. Something has triggered the curse. You must go to him. Me? I cannot. You must. The older woman gripped Nora's shoulders. You are the only one who can reach him when he is like this. The only one he has allowed close. Please. Before he hurts someone or himself. If you are enjoying this story, do not forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one. Nora ran. She did not know where she was going, only followed the sounds of snarling and the screams of frightened nobles fleeing the great hall. When she burst through the doors, chaos greeted her. The enormous black wolf from her porch stood in the center of the hall, lips pulled back to reveal fangs like daggers. Furniture was overturned, tapestries torn from the walls. Guards surrounded the beast with weapons drawn, but none dared to strike. "Do not hurt him." Nora's voice rang out clear and commanding, shocking herself as much as everyone else. "Lower your weapons, now." "My lady, that creature is dangerous." A guard captain stepped forward. "We must contain it before." "Before what? Before you kill your king?" She pushed through the circle of guards, ignoring their protests. "That is King Daemon. He is cursed, not rabid. And if you harm him, you commit treason." The wolf's head swung toward her, golden, eyes wild and unfocused. A growl rumbled from his chest, and several people screamed. Nora kept walking. She had fed this wolf for 6 months, had talked to him, cried in front of him, trusted him. She would not fear him now. "It is me," she said softly, holding out her hand. "It is Nora. You know me. You have always known me, have you not?" The wolf snarled, taking a step toward her, muscles bunched to spring. "I should have realized sooner. Those eyes, that intelligence, the way you always understood everything I said." She was within striking distance now, close enough that one swipe of those massive paws could end her life. "I told you we were the same, unwanted, alone, too different to belong." She knelt, making herself small and non-threatening. "But I was wrong. We are not alone. We have each other. We have always had each other." The wolf lunged, and gasps echoed through the hall. But instead of attacking, the beast pressed his massive head against Nora's chest, a whine escaping his throat. She wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face in his fur. "I am here," she whispered. "I am here, and I am not leaving. Whatever this curse is, whatever you are fighting, you do not have to fight it alone anymore." The wolf's body shuddered, and slowly, so slowly, the wildness faded from his eyes. Recognition returned. Control. He pulled back slightly, staring at her with an expression that was entirely too human, too full of longing and regret and hope. "There you are." Nora smiled through tears she had not realized were falling. "There is my wolf." The transformation began with a shimmer of light, and Nora quickly looked away, giving him privacy as gasps and murmurs filled the hall. When a hand touched her chin and gently turned her face back, Daemon Blackthorn knelt before her in human form, gloriously naked and completely unconcerned with their audience. "You should not have done that," he said hoarsely. "I could have killed you. But you did not. You would never hurt me. How can you possibly know that? Because I have trusted you every night for 6 months. Because you have had 1,000 opportunities to harm me, and instead you have only ever protected me." She reached up, cupping his face in her hands. "Because you are my wolf, curse or not, beast or man. Nora." Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. "You do not understand what you are saying, what you are offering. Then explain it to me." She held his gaze unflinching. "Explain why I feel like I have known you my entire life. Explain why touching you feels like coming home. Because you are my mate." The words fell into the silence like stones into still water. "My fated mate. The other half of my soul. I have known since the first moment I saw you, and I have been fighting it because I am cursed, because I am broken, because you deserve so much better than—" "Stop." She pressed her fingers to his lips. "Stop deciding what I deserve. I am tired of other people making choices for me. Tell me what you want, Daemon, not what the council wants, not what duty demands. What do you want?" He stared at her for a long moment, conflict and desire warring in his eyes. Then he pulled her against him and kissed her. The great hall erupted. Cheers from some quarters, shock from others, outrage from Lady Seraphina's direction. But Nora heard none of it. She was drowning in the sensation of his lips on hers, the mate bond snapping into place with such force that it stole her breath. Power flooded through her, ancient and wild and right. Her skin began to glow with soft silver light, and somewhere deep inside, something that had been sleeping for her entire life woke up and howled. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nora's eyes had changed. They glowed with an inner light, and silver markings like flowing script had appeared on her arms. Daemon stared at her in wonder. What? She is Luna blessed. Lady Margaret's awed voice broke through the stunned silence. A true Luna. The first in 3 generations. That is impossible. Seraphina pushed forward, her face twisted with jealousy and rage. She has no wolf. She cannot be Luna blessed. This is some trick, some manipulation. It is no trick. An ancient, wizened wolf elder stepped forward from the crowd, his eyes wide with recognition. The Luna blessed do not manifest their wolves until they meet their true mate, until the bond awakens what was always sleeping inside. Them. He turned to address the assembly. The moon goddess herself has chosen. King Daemon has found his queen. The implications hit Nora like a physical blow. Queen. They were saying she was meant to be queen. Her, the orphan with no status, no family, no pack. I cannot, she began. But Daemon's arms tightened around her. You can, he insisted. You are stronger than you know, braver than you believe. You walked up to a cursed beast without fear. You claimed a broken king without hesitation. If that is not queen material, I do not know what is. But I do not know how to be a queen. I do not know anything about politics or court or... You know how to heal. You know how to show compassion. You know how to see people for who they truly are beneath their masks. He pressed his forehead to hers. That is all a true queen needs. The rest we will learn together. Your Majesty, surely you cannot be serious. An elderly alpha from the council stepped forward, his expression scandalized. This girl has no lineage, no training, no connections. To name her queen would be political suicide. Then I die politically. Daemon turned to face the assembly, still holding Nora against his side. I have spent 5 years cursed and alone, believing I was unworthy of love or happiness. I have let duty and politics dictate every choice I have made. No more. Nora is my mate, my Luna, and my choice. If the council cannot accept that, then perhaps it is time for a new council. Silence. Then, slowly, Lady Margaret began to applaud. One by one, others joined her, until the great hall thundered with approval. Not everyone clapped. Seraphina stood frozen, her face a mask of fury. Several council members looked distinctly unhappy. But the majority, those who had watched their king suffer under his curse for years, those who had seen him nearly destroyed by isolation and despair, they celebrated. Come. Daemon scooped Nora into his arms, ignoring her startled yelp. We have much to discuss, and I prefer to do it somewhere private. He carried her from the hall, leaving chaos and speculation in their wake. Daemon's private chambers were nothing like Nora expected. She had imagined cold stone and austere furnishings, but instead found warmth and comfort. A fire blazed in the hearth, thick rugs covered the floors, and floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the moonlit forest. I should return you to your cabin, Daemon said, setting her carefully on her feet. This has all happened too fast. You need time to think, to process. Do you want me to leave? Nora asked. He closed his eyes. What I want and what is right are rarely the same thing. That is not an answer. She stepped closer, emboldened by the mate bond humming between them. Do you want me to leave, Daemon? No. The word burst from him like a confession. I want you to stay. I want to keep you here where I can see you, touch you, know you are safe. I want to claim you so completely that no one, not the council, not Seraphina, not fate itself, can ever take you from me. Then why are you fighting it? Because you deserve a choice. He opened his eyes, and the anguish in them made her ache. You deserve to choose this life, this burden, with full knowledge of what it means. Being my queen will not be easy, Nora. There will be those who resent you, who try to undermine you, who see you as an obstacle to their own ambitions. I know. You will be scrutinized, criticized, held to impossible standards. I know. And the curse, it is not broken. Tonight proves that. I could still hurt you. I could still lose control and... Damon. She placed her hand over his heart, feeling it race beneath her palm. I have been alone my entire life. I have been rejected, dismissed, treated as less than because I had no wolf, no family, no worth in the eyes of the pack. And every single night for 6 months, you came to me. You, a king, came to sit with a nobody and keep her company in the darkness. You think I am afraid of your curse? I have seen you at your most monstrous, and I still chose to walk toward you, not away. You are either the bravest woman I have ever met or the most foolish. Perhaps both. She smiled. But I am also yours, if you will have me. He made a sound that was half laugh, half groan, and pulled her into his arms. If I will have you. Nora, I have been yours since the moment you first fed me, first touched me, first showed me kindness when I did not. Deserve it. The question is whether you will have me, cursed, broken, more beast than man some days. I will have you any way I can get you. She stretched up to kiss him, and this time, there was no audience to interrupt. This time, when their lips met, the world narrowed to just the two of them. The mate bond flared, and Nora gasped as power surged through her again. Her wolf, newly awakened, pressed against her consciousness, eager and curious. I can feel her, she whispered against Damon's mouth. My wolf. She is real. She is finally real. Let her out. Damon's hands tangled in her hair. Let me meet her properly. The shift came instinctively, more natural than breathing. One moment Nora stood on 2 legs, the next she was on 4, her fur a luminous silver that seemed to capture moonlight even indoors. She was smaller than Damon's beast form, more delicate, but power radiated from her in waves. Damon stared at her in wonder, then shifted himself. The black wolf and the silver. Wolf circled each other slowly, relearning each other in this new context. Then Damon's wolf bowed, a gesture of respect and recognition, and Nora's wolf yipped happily and pounced on him. They tumbled together, playful and joyous, the curse momentarily forgotten in the simple pleasure of being together, being whole. What do you think will happen next? Leave your predictions in the comments below. The next morning, Nora woke in Damon's bed, wrapped in his arms and expensive silk sheets. For a moment, she thought she had dreamed it all. Then she saw her hands, still faintly glowing with luna marks, and reality crashed back. You are awake. Damon's voice rumbled against her ear. And you did not flee in the night. I am impressed. I considered it, she admitted. Around 3 in the morning, panic set in, and I nearly ran. What stopped you? You were having a nightmare. You kept calling out, fighting something I could not see. So I stayed and held you until you calmed. She turned, in his arms to face him. Your curse. Lady Margaret said it was caused by a witch whose daughter you rejected? Damon's expression darkened. Elena. She was obsessed with me, convinced we were destined mates despite all evidence to the contrary. When I refused her for the 5th time and announced I would never marry someone I did not love, her mother, a powerful dark witch, cursed me. She said if I would not choose love willingly, I would lose the ability to control myself entirely, that I would become the beast I acted like. That is horrible. It was just. I was arrogant, cruel in my rejections. I humiliated Elena publicly more than once. I deserved punishment. No one deserves to be cursed. Nora touched his face gently. And you are not cruel now. Whatever you were then, you have changed. Because of you. He captured her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. Somehow, being near you centers me, calms the beast. I do not understand it, but I am grateful for it. The door interrupted. A sharp knock on Your Majesty, the council has requested an emergency session. Lady Margaret's voice called through the wood. They demand to discuss your announcement from last night. Damon sighed. Of course they do. Give me 10 minutes. He turned to Nora. I have to face them. Will you come with me? Should I? You are my chosen queen. They need to see that I am serious, that you are not some passing fancy. I have nothing to wear but my festival dress. Then we will get you something appropriate. He kissed her forehead. Stay here. I will have the royal seamstress come to you. Damon, wait. She grabbed his hand before he could leave the bed. What if I fail? What if I prove them all right and I am not cut out to be queen? Then we will fail together. He smiled, and it transformed his usually stern face into something boyish and beautiful. But I do not think you will fail, Nora. I think you will surprise everyone, including yourself. The council chamber was a circular room with high vaulted ceilings and ancient pack symbols carved into every surface. 12 alphas sat in judgment, their faces ranging from curious to hostile. Damon entered first, projecting confidence and authority. Nora followed, dressed now in a deep blue gown that the seamstress had somehow procured in less than an hour. It was not as elaborate as what the court ladies wore, but it fit perfectly and made her look almost regal. King Damon, the head counselor, Alpha Magnus, spoke. First, we are here to discuss your shocking announcement last night. This girl, this Nora, you truly intend to make her queen? I do not intend to make her queen, Magnus. She is queen. The Lunamarks do not lie. The moon goddess herself has confirmed the bond. The moon goddess has been silent for generations. Another counselor scoffed. These marks could be trickery, illusion magic. Test them then. Nora surprised herself by speaking. 12 pairs of eyes swung to her. If you doubt the marks, bring your best magic users and test them. I have nothing to hide. Bold words from a nobody, Seraphina's father, Alpha Cain, sneered from his seat. Tell me, girl, what do you know of running a kingdom? Of managing alliances? Of warfare and economics and law? Nothing, Nora admitted, and shock rippled through the room. I know nothing of those things. I am a healer and an herbalist. I know how to cure fever and set bones and deliver babies. I know how to grow food and preserve it. Through winter, I know how to survive with nothing and still find reasons to be grateful. Exactly our point, Magnus said. You are unfit. I am unfit by your standards, Nora agreed. But perhaps your standards are part of the problem. When was the last time anyone on this council walked among the common wolves? When did you last visit the border territories and see how your people actually live? I may not know politics, but I know the people you are supposed to serve. I know their struggles, their hopes, their fears. Is that not worth something? Silence. Then Alpha Magnus surprised her by smiling. You have fire, girl. I will give you that. But fire alone does not make a queen. No, Damon interjected. But fire, compassion, intelligence, and courage might. Nora has all of those and more, and she has something none of your carefully bred candidates possess. She has my complete trust and devotion. That will not change regardless of your approval. Your Majesty. Younger counselor spoke up hesitantly. What of the curse? If you truly bond with this woman, if you claim her as mate, the emotional intensity could trigger transformations. You could hurt her. Then we will find a way to break the curse. We have tried for 5 years. Then we try harder. Damon's voice was steel. I will not give up Nora because of fear. I will not live the rest of my life alone because it is easier or safer. And I will not let this council dictate who I love. Love? Seraphina's voice cut through the chamber like a knife. She stood in the doorway, escorted by guards who looked apologetic for letting her through. You barely know this girl, Your Majesty. You claim to love her after one night? I have known her for 6 months, Damon replied evenly. In my cursed form, I have spent nearly every night in her presence. She has seen me at my absolute worst, and she did not flinch. Can you say the same, Lady Seraphina? I have never had the opportunity to prove myself because you never gave me a chance. Her eyes glittered with unshed tears of rage. I have done everything right. Everything. I am noble-born, well-educated, politically connected. And you chose her. A nobody. A nothing. I chose my mate, Damon corrected. I chose the woman the moon goddess created for me. That is not a rejection of you, Seraphina. It is simply the reality of fate. Fate! She laughed bitterly. You hide behind fate to justify following your base desires. Enough. Alpha Magnus stood. Lady Seraphina, you are dismissed. This is a council matter, and you have no place here. Seraphina's face flushed with humiliation, but she had no choice but to leave. As she passed Nora, she leaned in close and whispered, This is not over. I will destroy you, little Luna. I will make you wish you had never been born. Then she was gone, and Nora tried not to show how deeply the threat had shaken her. The council debated for another hour before finally agreeing to a compromise. Nora would be given 3 months to prove herself worthy of the title of queen. She would undergo training in politics, diplomacy, pack law, and combat. At the end of 3 months, the council would vote on whether to officially recognize her as queen. If she failed, Damon would be forced to choose another bride or abdicate. It was not ideal, but it was more than Nora had expected. As they left the council chamber, Damon pulled her into an empty corridor and kissed her breathless. You were magnificent in there, he said when they finally parted. The way you stood up to them, admitted your weaknesses but claimed your strengths. That took courage. I was terrified, she confessed. I am still terrified. 3 months, Damon. What if I cannot learn everything I need to know in 3 months? Then we will fight the council's decision. But I believe in you, Nora. You are stronger than you know. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Now come. Lady Margaret is waiting. To begin your lessons. And she is not known for her patience. The next 3 months were the most challenging of Nora's life. She woke before dawn for combat training with the Royal Guard. She spent mornings learning pack law and history with dusty scholars. Her afternoons were consumed by etiquette lessons, dance instruction, and diplomatic training. And her evenings were filled with economic reports, trade agreements, and political strategies that made her head spin. Through it all, Damon was there. He attended her lessons when he could, quizzed her over dinner, and held her when she cried from frustration and exhaustion. And every night, they fell asleep in each other's arms, the mate bond growing stronger with each passing day. Nora's wolf grew stronger too. The Luna marks on her skin became more pronounced, and she discovered abilities she never knew existed. She could heal with a touch now, could sense emotions in others, could project calm into panicked situations. Her fighting. Instructors were amazed at how quickly she learned, how naturally combat came to her once she stopped thinking and let her wolf guide her instincts. But it was not all progress and triumph. The curse still plagued Damon, though less frequently with Nora near. Twice she had to talk him down from transformations triggered by council politics. Once, she was not fast enough, and his beast form destroyed half the throne room before she could reach him. The incident gave ammunition to those on the council who argued he was unfit to rule. If you want to see how this story ends, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. On the night before the council's final vote, Nora could not sleep. She stood on the balcony of Damon's chambers, staring out at the forest and trying not to let panic consume her. Tomorrow, everything would be decided. Tomorrow, she would either become queen or lose everything. You are worrying. Damon appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. I can feel it through the bond. How can I not worry? What if I am not enough? What if they vote against me and you lose your throne because of me? Then we will leave together and build a life somewhere else. Perhaps we will return to your grandmother's cabin. Live simply. Be happy. You cannot mean that. You are a king. This is your birthright, your responsibility. You are my mate. That is a bond that supersedes birthright and responsibility. I will choose you, Nora. Every time. In every situation. I will choose you. She turned in his arms, tears streaming down her face. I do not deserve you. You deserve everything. He kissed her tears away. But if you truly want to give me something, give me your trust. Trust that we will face whatever comes together. Trust that our bond is strong enough to weather any storm. I do trust you. I am just afraid. So am I. The admission surprised her. You are afraid? Afraid
Terrified.
I will hurt you every single day.
Afraid
the curse will never break. Afraid I am too damaged to be the mate you deserve. But I have learned that being afraid and being brave are not mutually exclusive. You can be both. He cupped her face in his hands. So tomorrow, we will walk into that council chamber together, afraid but brave, and we will face whatever comes with our heads held high. Together, she repeated, drawing strength from the word. Always together. They went back to bed then, wrapped in each other. And this time, Nora slept peacefully until dawn. The council chamber was packed. Not just the 12 alphas, but representatives from every major pack in the kingdom had come to witness the vote. Nora stood beside Daemon, her hand in his, as Alpha Magnus addressed the assembly. 3 months ago, King Daemon presented Nora, a Luna-blessed wolf of no pack and no family, as his chosen mate and queen. We gave her 3 months to prove herself worthy of that title. The time has come to cast our judgment. He turned to face them. Nora, you have exceeded our expectations in many ways. Your instructors report that you have learned more in 3 months than most nobles learn in 3 years. You have shown compassion to the common wolves, strength in the face of adversity, and wisdom beyond your years. However, the pause made Nora's heart sink. However, there are those on this council who remain unconvinced, who believe that lineage and breeding matter more than personal merit, who fear that accepting you as queen sets a dangerous precedent. Then let them voice their concerns, Daemon demanded. Let them say to her face why they believe she is unworthy. Very well. Alpha Cain stood, Seraphina's father, his expression cold. I will say it plainly. This girl is a liability. She has no family to strengthen alliances. She has no army to contribute to our forces. She brings nothing to this union except pretty words and false prophecies about Luna blessings. Moreover, the king's curse has not improved. If anything, it has become more unpredictable as his emotional attachment to her has deepened. How can we entrust our kingdom to a king who cannot control himself and a queen who has no resources to help him? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. I will answer that. Nora stepped forward, pulling her hand from Daemon's despite his protest. You are right, Alpha Cain. I have no family, no army, no political connections. I bring no material resources to this union. But I bring something you clearly do not value. I bring love. I bring loyalty. I bring the willingness to stand beside my mate even when it is dangerous, even when it is difficult, even when every logical voice says to run away. She turned to address the full assembly. You want a queen who can strengthen alliances through bloodlines? I will build new alliances through actions and integrity. You want a queen who can contribute armies? I will contribute healers, mediators, and bridges between the crown and the common wolves you have forgotten. You want a queen who can help control the king's curse? I have already done that. The transformations have decreased by 70% since we bonded, and they continue to improve. Words, Cain scoffed. Pretty words and empty promises. Then test me. Nora lifted her chin. Give me a challenge, any challenge. If I fail, I will walk away from Daemon and this court and never return. But if I succeed, you will cast your vote in my favor and never question my worthiness again." Shocked silence filled the chamber. Even Damon stared at her like she had lost her mind. "Nora, no," he started, but she shook her head. "I am tired of defending myself with words. Let my actions speak." Alpha Magnus studied her thoughtfully. "A challenge. Very well. There is a rogue pack on our northern border that has been attacking our villages and killing our people. They are led by a wolf named Fenrir, a brutal warrior who respects only strength. For 6 months, we have tried to negotiate peace. He has killed every diplomat we sent. Tomorrow morning, you will go to Fenrir's territory and broker a peace treaty. If you succeed, you have your crown. If you fail, I will not fail," Nora said with a confidence she did not quite feel. "And I will go alone. No guards, no weapons, just me." "That is suicide," Damon exploded. "Magnus, you cannot seriously be considering this." "She offered the challenge, Your Majesty. I merely accepted, so—" "It." Magnus's eyes gleamed with something that might have been respect, or might have been cruelty. "Dawn tomorrow, Nora. I suggest you prepare." Damon dragged her from the chamber the moment they were dismissed, his anger palpable. "What were you thinking? Fenrir is a monster. He will kill you the moment you set foot in his territory. Then you will have to trust that I know what I am doing." "How can you possibly know what you are doing? You have never negotiated with rogues before." "No, but I have spent my entire life navigating hostile social situations. I have survived being powerless among those who had power over me. That is its own kind of diplomacy." She touched his face, trying to soothe the fury and fear she felt through their bond. "I have to do this, Damon. Not just to prove myself to the council, but to prove it to myself. I need to know I can be the queen you need me to be. I do not need you to be anything except alive. Then have faith that I will survive this." She kissed him softly. "I am Luna Blessed, remember? The moon goddess herself has claimed me. I have to believe that means something." He held her close, his body trembling. "If you die, I will burn Fenrir's entire territory to the ground. I will slaughter every rogue who stands against me. I will." "Shh." She stroked his hair. "I will not die. I promise." It was a promise she desperately hoped she could keep. That night, Nora could not sleep, despite her exhaustion. She spent hours researching Fenrir and his pack, learning everything she could about rogue wolf culture and what might motivate them. Lady Margaret helped, providing old texts and first-hand accounts from survivors of rogue attacks. "You do not have to do this," the older woman said quietly as they worked. "The council's challenge was cruel and unfair, but necessary." Nora rubbed her tired eyes. "They need to see that I am more than just Damon's mate, that I can be useful to the kingdom in my own right." "You already are. Useful. You have been healing wolves in the villages during your free time, have you not?" "I have heard the reports. The common people adore you. The common people are not the ones voting tomorrow." Nora sighed. "I need the council's respect, not just their tolerance." "Then go to Fenrir's territory and show them what you are made of." Lady Margaret squeezed her hand. "But be careful, child. Rogues are unpredictable, and Fenrir is the worst of them. He has no honor, no code. He respects only strength and fear." "Then I will have to be strong without being fearsome." Nora smiled grimly. "Somehow." As dawn approached, Damon insisted on walking her to the border of Fenrir's territory. They said nothing, just held hands and tried to memorize the feeling of being together in case it was the last time. At the border marker, Damon pulled her into a crushing embrace. "Come back to me," he whispered fiercely. "I do not care about the crown or the council or any of it. Just come back to me." "I will." She kissed him one last time, pouring everything she felt into it. Then she stepped across the border into rogue territory, and everything changed. The forest on the rogue side was darker, wilder, untouched by civilization. Nora walked for perhaps 20 minutes before wolves emerged from the shadows. 8 of them, all in wolf form, all radiating hostility. The largest, a scarred gray wolf with one milky eye, shifted to human form. "You are either very brave or very stupid, little Luna," he growled. "I am Fenrir, and you are trespassing. I am Nora, mate to King Daemon Blackthorn. I have come to talk." "Talk?" Fenrir laughed, a harsh sound. "The last wolves who came to talk, I sent back to your precious king in pieces. What makes you think you will fare any better?" "Because I am not here to make threats or demands. I am here to listen." Fenrir's eyes narrowed. "Listen to what?" "To why you attack our villages. To what grievance has driven you to war. To what you truly want." She kept her voice calm, her posture non-threatening despite the wolves circling her. "Everyone wants something, Fenrir. Even rogues. Especially rogues. So tell me, what do you want?" For a long moment, Fenrir just stared at her. Then he threw back his head and laughed. "You want to know what I want? Fine. I want justice for my sister. She was Pack before your mate's father exiled her for refusing an arranged mating. She died alone in these woods, hunted by the same wolves who once called. Her family. I want revenge for every rogue who has been cast out, abandoned, left to die because they did not fit into your perfect pack structure. Then you want the same thing I do." Nora's words stopped him mid-tirade. "What?" "I was Packless before I met Daemon. Cast out, rejected, treated as less than because I had no wolf. I know what it feels like to be unwanted, to be disposable. And I agree with you. The pack system is broken. It prioritizes bloodlines and politics over people. It creates outcasts and then punishes them for the crime of existing." Fenrir's remaining good eye studied her with new interest. "Pretty speech. But what can you actually do about it? I can offer you and your wolves a choice. Join the kingdom not as rogues, but as a new pack, the Borderland Pack, with full rights and representation on the council. You would have territory, resources, protection. In exchange, you stop the attacks and help defend our borders from outside threats. Why would your council ever agree to that? Because I am going to make them agree, and because it is the right thing to do." She stepped closer, ignoring the warning growls from the circling wolves. "You are not a monster, Fenrir. You are a brother seeking justice for his sister, a leader trying to protect his people the only way he knows how. But there is another way. A better way. Help me change the system from within, instead of destroying it from without." Silence stretched between them, tension thick. Enough to choke on. Then Fenrir shifted back to wolf form and howled, a long, mournful sound that was picked up by every wolf in his pack. When the howling stopped, he shifted back and extended his hand. "You have courage, little Luna, and you speak with the wisdom of one who has suffered. Very well. We will give your plan a chance, but if your council rejects it, if they betray this offer of peace, I will hold you personally responsible." "Fair enough." Nora clasped his hand, and the mate bond flared inside her, Daemon feeling her triumph even across the distance. "Shall we return to the palace together? I think the council will be quite surprised to see you walking beside me instead of carrying my corpse." Fenrir's laugh was genuine this time. "Oh, I am going to enjoy this." The sight of Nora walking into the council chamber flanked by Fenrir and his 8 wolves sent the assembly into chaos. Shouts of outrage, weapons being drawn, guards rushing forward to protect the alphas. "Stand. Down." Daemon's voice cut through the pandemonium like a blade. He had not taken his eyes off Nora since she entered, relief and pride and love radiating through their bond so strongly it made her dizzy. She completed the challenge. Let her speak. Nora stepped forward, Fenrir a looming presence at her back. "I went to the rogue territory as demanded. I spoke with Fenrir and his pack, and I have brokered a peace treaty that will end the attacks on our northern villages." "At what cost?" "Alpha," Magnus demanded. "What did you promise them?" "A chance." Nora's voice rang clear and strong. a chance to be part of the kingdom instead of outcasts from it. Fenrir and his wolves will form a new pack, the Borderland Pack, with full council representation and territorial rights. In exchange, they will defend our borders and cease all hostilities against Kingdom wolves. Absolutely not. Alpha Cain shot to his feet. We do not negotiate with rogues. We do not legitimize their existence by giving them pack status. This is outrageous. What is outrageous is that we have created a system that produces rogues in the first place. Nora's eyes blazed. Every wolf standing behind me was once part of a kingdom pack. They were exiled, rejected, cast out for crimes like refusing arranged matings, speaking against corrupt alphas, or simply being different. We made them rogues, and then we punished them for surviving. Does that sound like justice to you? The girl has a point. Another. Counselor admitted reluctantly. The rogue problem has been growing for decades. Perhaps it is time to address the root cause instead of just the symptoms. And if we agree to this madness, Magnus asked, what guarantee do we have that Fenrir will honor his word, that he will not turn on us the moment it suits him? You have my word. Fenrir spoke for the first time, his voice gravelly and dangerous. I have spent 6 months killing your wolves. Believe me when I say I could continue for 6 more years if I wished. I am here because this little Luna offered me something no one else has. Respect. Recognition. A future for my pack that does not involve constant warfare. I will not waste that opportunity. The council debated for over an hour. Voices were raised, threats were made, compromises were offered and rejected. Through it all, Nora stood firm, Damon at her side now, presenting a united front. Finally, Alpha Magnus called for a vote. All in favor of accepting the borderland. Pack into the kingdom and recognizing Nora as our queen. Hands rose slowly. 1, 2, 5, 7. When the count finished, 9 of the 12 alphas had voted in Nora's favor. She had won. The chamber erupted in applause and protest in equal measure. Damon swept her into his arms and kissed her in front of everyone. Propriety be damned. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Magnus approached with something that might have been a smile. Well played, Your Majesty, he said to Nora, using her new title for the first time. You have earned your crown through courage and innovation. I look forward to seeing what else you will accomplish. Thank you, Alpha Magnus. Nora felt tears prickling her eyes. I will not let the kingdom down. See that you do not. He nodded to Fenrir. Welcome to the council, Borderland Alpha. Try not to eat any of the other members during meetings. Fenrir's grin was all teeth. No promises. As the assembly dispersed, Seraphina appeared one last time, her face a mask of cold fury. You may have won today, but this is not over. There are forces at work you do not understand, little Luna. Enemies you have not yet identified. Sleep well while you can, because your reign will be short and painful. Before Nora could respond, Seraphina disappeared into the crowd. A chill ran down Nora's spine, but Damon's arms tightened around her, protective and sure. Ignore her, he murmured. She is just bitter about losing. She cannot hurt us now. But, as they left the council chamber, Nora could not shake the feeling that Seraphina's threat was more than just sour grapes, that something darker was coming. She pushed the thought aside. Today was for celebrating. Worries could wait for tomorrow. The coronation took place 1 week later under the full moon. Nora stood before the sacred altar where generations of queens had been crowned, wearing a gown of silver silk that seemed woven from moonlight itself. The Luna marks on her arms glowed brilliantly, visible to everyone gathered. Damon placed the crown on her head, a delicate circlet of platinum and moonstones, and the entire assembly knelt. Rise, Queen Nora, the High Priestess intoned. Luna blessed and mate chosen. May your reign bring healing to the wounded and hope to the lost. The celebration that followed was spectacular. Music, dancing, feasting that lasted until dawn. But Nora found herself seeking quiet moments on the balcony. overwhelmed by how much her life had changed in just 4 months. Hiding from your own coronation? Lady Margaret appeared beside her, offering a glass of wine. Hardly seems like queen behavior. Just catching my breath. Nora smiled. It is all so much. Sometimes I still feel like the girl who fed a stray wolf on her porch, you know? That girl is still part of you. Never forget her. She is the reason you will be a great queen. Margaret paused. But there is something you should know. Something Daemon has been reluctant to tell you. Nora's stomach clenched. What is it? The curse. Breaking it requires more than just the mate bond. It requires a sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? A life for a life. That was the witch's bargain. To break Daemon's curse, someone must willingly give their life in his place. Someone who loves him enough to die for him. Nora's blood ran cold. No. There has to be another way. We have been searching for 5 years. If there was another way, we would have found it by now. Margaret gripped her arm. I am telling you this because Daemon will never ask it of you. He would rather live cursed for the rest of his life than risk losing you. But you deserve to know the truth. Before Nora could respond, screams erupted from inside the palace. Not celebration, but terror. Daemon burst onto the balcony, his eyes wild. Nora, you need to run. Now. What is happening? Seraphina. She did not just threaten you. She poisoned the wine. Dozens of wolves are convulsing, dying. And the antidote. His face was anguished. The antidote requires Luna-blessed blood. Your blood. Nora did not hesitate. She ran back into the ballroom where chaos reigned. Wolves writhed on the floor, foam flecking their lips, their eyes rolling back. She fell to her knees beside the nearest victim and let her claws extend, slicing across her palm. Luna-blessed blood, glowing silver, dripped onto the dying wolf's lips. The effect was immediate. Color returned to his face. His breathing steadied. The convulsions stopped. Everyone who drank the wine, come to me now, Nora commanded, her voice ringing with authority she had not known she possessed. A line formed, desperate and afraid. One by one, Nora fed them her blood, healing them, saving them. But there were so many. 20, 30, 40 wolves. Her vision began to blur, her body swaying from blood loss. Daemon caught her before she fell. Stop. You are killing yourself. Cannot stop. She forced the words through numb. Have to save them. My people. My responsibility. Nora, please. Trust me. She met his eyes, saw her own fear reflected there. Trust me like I trusted you. So he held her upright while she healed every last poisoned wolf. When the final victim was safe, Nora collapsed into Daemon's arms, her heartbeat erratic, her breathing shallow. The Luna marks on her skin flickered like dying stars. No, no, no. Daemon carried her to their chambers, shouting for healers, for anyone who could help. But the royal physicians shook their heads grimly. She has lost too much blood, Your Majesty. Too much of her essence. We do not know if even a Luna blessed can survive this. Daemon held her, rocking back and forth, his tears falling on her too pale face. Do not leave me. Please, Nora. I just found you. You cannot leave me now. Through the haze of approaching death, Nora remembered Lady Margaret's words. A life for a life, a sacrifice made from love. And suddenly, she understood. The curse could only be broken by someone willingly giving their life for Daemon. And she had just done exactly that. Not because anyone asked her to. Not because it was required. But because saving her people, saving their future, was worth any price. Daemon. Her voice was barely a whisper. The curse. Check the curse. He went still, then carefully extended his hand, shifted one finger to a claw and back, then his whole hand, his arm, back and forth with perfect control. It is broken. Wonder flooded his voice. Nora, the curse is broken. You broke it. Good. She smiled weakly. At least I accomplished that before I died. You are not going to die. He bit into his own wrist, pressed the bleeding wound to her lips. My blood for yours. My life for yours. The mate bond works both ways, remember? Alpha blood, king blood, flooded into her. Power surged through her veins, met her own power, intertwined and strengthened. The Luna marks flared brilliant white, so bright everyone had to look. Away. When the light faded, Nora gasped and sat up, fully healed, stronger than before. How? The mate bond. Damon laughed through his tears. We are two halves of one whole. Your sacrifice broke my curse, and my blood healed your sacrifice. We saved each other. Nora threw her arms around him and held on tight. Outside the chamber, she could hear cheering as word spread that their new queen had not only survived, but had saved dozens of lives in the process. Her reign had begun with blood and sacrifice. It would continue with strength and compassion. Together, she and Damon would change the kingdom, would create a better world for all wolves, pack and rogue alike. But all of that could wait. For now, she was content to hold her mate and feel grateful to be alive. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who loves epic romance. Tell me in the comments, did you see this ending coming? Serafina was arrested that night, her father stripped of his council seat for his complicity in the poisoning plot. She was exiled to the farthest reaches of the kingdom, forbidden from ever returning to court. Fenrir and the Borderland Pack proved invaluable allies, defending the northern borders with fierce loyalty. The other rogues, seeing that integration was possible, began petitioning to join the kingdom as well. Nora created a program to rehabilitate and resettle them, earning the devotion of wolves across the realm. Damon, free from his curse at last, became the king. He was always meant to be. Strong, but compassionate. Fierce, but fair. And with Nora at his side, he transformed the kingdom from a place of rigid hierarchy and exclusion to one of opportunity and acceptance. On their first anniversary, as they stood together on the palace balcony watching the full moon rise, Damon pulled Nora close and whispered, "Do you remember that first night? When you fed a starving wolf on your porch?" "Of course." She leaned into him. "Best decision I ever made. I used to think the curse was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But now I see it was a gift. Because without it, I never would have found my way to your door. Never would have learned what it means to be truly seen and accepted. We saved each other," Nora said simply. "You gave me purpose and belonging. I gave you hope and healing. That is what mates do. That is what mates do," he agreed, and kissed her as the moon blessed them both with its silver light. They lived long and ruled wisely, their love becoming legend across the kingdom. And sometimes, on quiet nights, Nora would leave food on the palace steps for any lost or wandering wolves who might need it. Because she never forgot what it felt like to be alone, to be hungry, to be hoping for just one person to show her kindness. She never forgot the black wolf with golden eyes who had trusted her when he was at his most vulnerable. And she made sure that no wolf in her kingdom would ever have to feel unwanted again.